Hello and welcome. You're watching Left, Right and Centre. I'm Gargi Rawat. The big debate on the show tonight, the massive row over actor Naseeruddin Shah's recent statements where he spoke about the rise in incidents of mob lynching across the country and how the death of a cow had more significance than the death of a cop. He was referring to the recent Bulandshahr violence over cow deaths in which a cop was also killed. He also spoke about how he feels anxious about his children and about their safety. Now, yesterday, organizers of the Ajmer Literature Festival had to cancel Naseeruddin Shah's keynote address. This is after a protest took place by BJP's youth wing right outside the venue. They were also threatening to blacken the actor's face. Now, one of his contemporaries, Anupam Kher, has also spoken out and said that just because Naseeruddin Shah spoke, what he felt doesn't make it true, and adding there's so much freedom in the country, you can abuse the army, badmouth the air chief and pelt stones at the soldiers.
मुझे मालूम नहीं क्योंकि जो बात मैंने कही वो एक चिंतित भारतवासी की हैसियत से मैं पहले भी कह चुका हूँ। मुझे नहीं मालूम इस दफा मैंने कौन सा ऐसा क्या कह दिया कि मुझे गद्दार ठहराया जा रहा है। अजीब बात है। मैं अपने मुल्क जिससे मैं प्यार करता हूँ, जो मेरा अपना घर है, मैं उसके बारे में बात कह रहा हूँ, अपनी फिक्र जाहिर कर रहा हूँ। इसमें कौन सा मैंने गुनाह किया?
हर एक को पूरी आज़ादी है देश में कुछ भी कहने की। ये इसमें बहुत बड़ी बात है कि आदमी जो कहना चाहे बोल सकता है। ये ऐसा देश में हमारी यहाँ इतनी आज़ादी है कि आप सेना को भी गाली दे सकते हैं, आप एयर चीफ को भी बुरा भला बोल सकते हैं, आप सैनिकों पे पथराव भी कर सकते हैं। कि इससे ज़्यादा आज़ादी क्या चाहिए किसी भी देश में? और किसी देश में मुझे लगता है ऐसी आज़ादी नहीं है। तो उनको भी आज़ादी, जो उनका दिल किया उनको बोलने दीजिए, ज़रूरी नहीं कि वो सच है।
इवन গতকাল নাসিরুদ্দিন শাহ যেটা বলেছেন খুব গুরুত্বপূর্ণ কথা, যে আজকে আমাদের শঙ্কা হচ্ছে আমাদের ছেলে মেয়েদের নিয়ে এই দেশে থাকতে পারবো কিনা। সেম কথা আমার খ্রিস্টান ভাই বোনেদের জিজ্ঞেস করুন, তারাও বলবে তাদেরও ঝাড়খণ্ডে তাদের উপর কম অত্যাচার হয়নি। ঝাড়খণ্ড থেকে শুরু করে আরো বিভিন্ন জায়গা আছে, কথাই বলতে দেয় না।
All right, well, to talk more about this entire backlash Naseeruddin Shah's statements have gotten, joining us in studio, Raghu Karnar, journalist and writer, Amitabh Dubey, political analyst and Congress supporter, Desh Ratan Nigam, political analyst, lawyer, and no, that's Amitabh, and RSS supporter, and Anna Vetikart, film critic and writer, also joining us there. Well, Desh Ratan, I'd like to start with you. You know, Naseeruddin Shah expressed certain fears, and he spoke about fears for his children, and the kind of backlash that they've gotten with the people asking him to, you know, somebody's even booked a ticket for him to go to Pakistan, and you know, don't you feel it's just proving his point? An event got cancelled in Ajmer yesterday after protest, so isn't it just proving his point where he expressed an opinion about being fearful?
See, the only one thing is proved here, that everybody has got democratic rights. The way he expressed his opinion, the others are reacting to it. That's also the democratic right. And you know, somebody says,
but sir, the backlash, the kind of things being
backlash?
Said, and one BJP leader from UP even saying that he is growing into this role that he played of a Pakistani agent. So these kind of comments.
I've seen that movie also, but the fact remains, you know, I certainly feel this is a publicity stunt. He 2-3 weeks back, you know, called Virat Kohli as the world's worst behaved player.
Again, so that was a opinion on Facebook. He had commented on Facebook. So
therefore, it's clear he's clearly on the, you know, stunt of publicity. He was a forgotten face. He's come into so much of limelight.
So I don't think you can call Naseeruddin Shah forgotten face. It's not like he has a movie coming up immediately or anything.
No movies coming, and he was not being heard of. Last 2-3 years, I didn't hear about him, and suddenly he's all over the place now. So it's more, and a lot of film personalities.
But sir, the kind of statements that we're hearing, you know, this ticket being booked for him to go to Pakistan on the 14th, that's by a fringe outfit, UP.
Those are social media things.
There's a BJP leader who spoke out as well. The Shiv Sena has also spoken out.
See, I tell you why somebody calls him a Gaddar, you know. 1993 blast convict who was to be hanged, he signed a petition that he should not be hanged.
So, and many people signed that petition.
Yes,
it wasn't just Naseeruddin Shah. So is it just because he's Muslim and he's speaking about these issues that he's being targeted like this?
Everybody at that point of time was condemned. Whoever went to the Supreme Court for you know, not to hang, and he was part of it, and therefore, since we are discussing him, I'm bringing that issue. Paranoia, selective outrage is not. He was not, you know, he was not outraged when so many incidents occurred before. And this incident, which is still being investigated, somebody died out there, no doubt, and he's been compensated, and justice is being done. 2 SITs have been constituted there, and we have to wait for the report.
About the Bulandshahr incident, I think many people have expressed the same concern that why are we not as, or why is the Chief Minister not as agitated about and getting justice for the cop as the issue of cows being raised?
I'll answer that. It could have been investigated by the district police, normal investigation. The moment you create an SIT, which shows the seriousness of the state government about the incident.
The cop had been killed.
Yeah, obviously. Therefore, you understand the seriousness. 2 SITs have been convicted, both for the cause and also the murder. Because it is a simple legal jurisprudence that if you have to eliminate a crime, you've got to go to the root so that it does not occur in future. So both these SITs are working together, and certain facts have come out on the basis of which Mr. Yogi Adityanath has made certain statements, and final report has to come out. A lot of people are being arrested.
Well, he first called it an accident, and then he's called it a major conspiracy. But Raghu Karnad, what do you feel that this backlash that Naseeruddin is facing?
I think to me it's very clear that what we're seeing is a replay of what happened 3 years ago, and that sheds a lot of light on what's happening today. So 3 years ago in 2015, there was the murder at Dadri, again perpetrated by so-called Guy Sevaks, and in response, a whole wave of writers and filmmakers and intellectuals from across the country made a protest by returning awards, and they were mocked by the new establishment as the award Wapsi Gang, or as the Intolerance Brigade, and so on. And they were treated as though they were elitists, or some kind of ridiculous elitists, when in fact these are the figureheads of regional Indian cultures from all around the country, from Gujarat, from Assam, from Karnataka, Kerala, wherever you like. This was actually, you couldn't find better figureheads for really rooted Indian cultural personalities, saying that they felt that something was wrong and that the government needed to respond to check it. Now, they were mocked at the time, but I think that what happened in Bulandshahr has actually vindicated them perfectly. Anyone who made the mistake of making fun of them, the Award Wapsi Gang in 2015, should feel corrected by what just happened in 2018, in which, in circumstances that just are way too close, result in a policeman being shot and killed.
Right, so I'll give it and then for Naseeruddin Shah to express this, it was in an interview where he speaks and he expresses his concerns about his children and about mob violence.
Exactly. So then Naseeruddin Shah expresses his protest and his concerns, and he again faces this same backlash. What worries me is what's going to happen next to prove Naseeruddin Shah wrong. Are we going to wait to see that?
I'll just get your reaction. I want to go to Amitabh.
Form an SIT and say that all is well because we formed an SIT after that fact?
All right. Well, Amitabh, the Ajmer event that got cancelled yesterday, and Naseeruddin Shah was actually at the hotel, and he was just about to leave when the organizers called him and said, "Don't come here." And I think many have raised the question that this is happening now. Rajasthan is a Congress-ruled state, so why wasn't some protection given to these organizers and to Shah to actually attend that event?
This question actually hits an important point, and I want to address what was said earlier. I think the personal attack on Naseeruddin Shah is a distraction from the real event, and this is relevant to your question. The real issue is not that intolerance, quote unquote, has spread through the country. The data clearly shows that cow-related attacks have gone up since 2014, and this culture of impunity that many of these activists and some would call terrorists feel and are empowered. The issue is not that. The issue is the state response and the response of those in power to these events. What you have is the national flag being put on a Clark's killers coffin. You have garlanding of these murderers, alleged murderers, I will say, by ruling party, sort of very senior ministers of the government. The reason that this fear has spread is not because of these events themselves, but because the perception that the ruling establishment is at best turning a blind eye and at worst fanning these things.
And now in Rajasthan for this Ajmer event, I mean, why couldn't the government there provide some sort of security?
From what I've been told, this was not an event the government had anything to do with. That security was not requested in the beginning. So I think that it's sort of.
But if you talk about the state, giving security or the way they deal
No,
with
I
these
think
sort of
escaping.
situations,
Absolutely. Look,
though I have spoken to
way of
the
escaping
police
the
there, and they have
responsibility.
said the 5 people have been taken into custody after this protest took place. But Anna Vetikad, often we criticize our Bollywood stars for not speaking out on political issues, the way we see in Hollywood. But given, the reaction earlier that there was to Amir Khan when he spoke out also about his fears, and now Naseeruddin Shah, one can't really blame them, for not speaking more on political issues.
I will not agree with you on that at all, Gargi, because the fact is that the more stars speak up, the more safety they will have, and there will be safety in numbers. And the reason why these gangs of extremists feel free to attack Naseeruddin Shah is because he is one of the few voices speaking up. If there were millions of voices, if scores of Bollywood actors were speaking up in the manner, for instance, that actors from the Tamil film industry constantly speak up, then there would be safety in numbers. They can single out a Naseeruddin Shah and an Amir Khan because they are among the few that speak out. But Gargi, before that, I want to address a point that was raised earlier on the show right at the start. This claim that was made that Naseeruddin Shah is indulging in a publicity stunt, and that Naseeruddin Shah has not been heard of for 2-3 years now, and suddenly he's got publicity. I would request Mr. Nigam to be a little more informed about Indian cinema. Naseeruddin Shah, firstly, has been acting in films, so it's not like he's gone away. He is very active in theatre, so it's not like he's gone away. He had released a book and he drew crowds wherever he went to speak about his book. So it's not like he needs publicity. He is one of the most respected actors in the history, not just in Hindi cinema right now, but in the history of not just Hindi cinema, but Indian cinema. So it is beyond ridiculous to claim that Naseeruddin Shah said what he said because he needs publicity. May I ask, though, whether the BJP and other Hindu extremist organizations are PR persons for Naseeruddin Shah? Because Mr. Shah made a very quiet comment in a video for Karwan-e-Mohabbat. It was if there has been publicity for that video, listen, Karwan-e-Mohabbat is a very small setup,
right,
and that video might have been viewed by a few lakh people if it wasn't for the controversy. But because there has been a controversy, now it will be viewed by more people. So is the BJP Mr. Shah's PR organization? Why are they giving him publicity if they believe that he did this for publicity? And a third thing, because a claim was made by Mr. Nigam that these extremists who are opposing Mr. Shah are also using their freedom of expression to disagree with him. I will say, of course, Mr. Nigam, who is sitting here very politely and decently talking in this studio, yes, is exercising his freedom of expression. And while I strongly disagree with him, I would say he has a right to say so. But the other people who are condemning Mr. Shah are not
protesting and
with
forcing
sobriety
cancellation
and
of his
They are making
event.
extremely communal.
I need to come in.
Gargi, can I
Right,
request
let
you
me
not
go
cut
across
in
to
because
Mr.
I'm
Nigam
not,
and he can
at
take
the
on.
Studio, so the delay will. No, let me complete what I'm saying. No, Gargi, let me complete what I'm saying. What I was saying was that there has even been violence. Gargi, there has even been violence in Rajasthan in protest against Mr. Shah's proposed scheduled participation at the Literature Festival. That is not freedom of expression. Freedom of expression does not give you the right to be violent, to be extremist, and to be communal.
All right, Mr.
Oh, certainly.
Nigam, I mean, she's made
very
exactly
politely,
this point about the fact that his event had to be cancelled, and they were waiting there to blacken his face. I mean, that gives you a sense of that. That's why the organizers cancelled the event.
Yeah, that's fine. And if they indulge in violence, if you have, police should have taken action against them. As
Which
you
they
said,
have. They've held 5 people.
Which is the normal. If you cross your limits, your law should take its own course. But very politely, the two panelists out here called the protesters and the social media backlash as terrorist, also by Mr. Dubey. and by your another co-panelist as extremist, which is very shocking and surprising. If you say something,
No, I did not
yes,
say
you
the
called
social
them.
media protests
You
are
called-
terrorists. Please
No,
do
no,
not
you did.
misquote
You
me.
did said in a very generalized term. If you rewind it, you will find it. You will find it.
All right.
And those are the expressions I really condemn.
The murderers of the
and-
Bulandshahr cop are terrorists.
and-
Please do not say that I said those who are using their words.
How do you know
to
who are the
speak,
murderers?
about
You
violence
have
are
not even
terrorists.
seen the SIT report. You are jumping the gun. You are
I've
drawing
not
your
named
own.
them.
Yes, you are.
I've not named them.
So therefore,
I've not named them.
wait for the
People
report.
who lynch the citizens of my country
Therefore,
with
it could be an
immunity
accident.
are
It could be a
terrorists.
scuffle, an
People
accident.
who
It could be
commit
anything.
violence to
Don't
terrorize
let me.
people
Why do you
anywhere
have
in
to
the
interrupt?
world
I
are
didn't
terrorists.
All right,
interrupt
Anna,
you.
just let
I
Mr.
didn't
Nigam
interrupt
make
you.
his
I
point.
didn't interrupt you.
All right, so you've said that
No,
but
I don't like this
about
kind
what
of a
she's
debate when
talking
I'm
about in
speaking. But I
terms of
didn't
when you talk
misquote
about
you.
freedom of expression and
I did not
Naseeruddin Shah
misquote you,
expressing
Mr.
certain
Nigam.
Yes,
fears.
and he's-
but
he's
this
got-
very small interview,
he's
as
got-
Anna
he's-
made the point, it was just on social media, suddenly blown up into this massive controversy with people asking
He's
to go
got
to
his
Pakistan.
publicity.
And,
He's got his
but
publicity.
why? Is it
That's
because
what
he's a
he
Muslim
wanted.
actor talking
No, it's
earlier
not
with
about
Amir
Hindu
Khan? Also, the
Muslims.
same thing
This is
happened that he got
no.
targeted for making
This
a remark
is-
about
this is
fear, and
about-
then you go and prove it. Don't
This
you
is
think
about
this proves
fear
it?
mongering. This is about creating some kind of fear in the minds of minorities. He does not represent Muslims. Let me tell you, he's been going around his life he's taking part in parties. He's going around his functions, except this one function which has been cancelled. Similarly, in the case of Amir Khan, his family found it suddenly something wrong with the country.
But
he went
the
on
fact that
shooting.
they're expressing this, sir, and the fact that look at the kind of reactions and people asking them to leave the country,
So
and
you
which
are bound
Naseeruddin
to
Shah
have
made
these
that statement. He's
reactions
like,
on
what have
social
I said
media.
wrong? I'm expressing
See, he has
certain
left
concerns.
a trail of misbehavior. I gave you an example of Yaqub Memon. People
Which
remember-
I said that many people had
Yes,
signed that
but
petition.
we are discussing.
All right, I'd like to
Therefore,
shift to
you will
another
get this
issue as
reaction.
well related. But
it's a
Anna,
part of,
the fact
democracy.
that this function had to be cancelled in Ajmer, that is now a Congress-ruled state, would you have not expected that there would be more, security, or they would have tried to make a point in actually allowing Mr. Shah to attend this event?
You know what, Gargi? The reason why BJP has been able to blossom and the reason why Sangh extremism has blossomed is because the Congress party and other opposition parties in this country have ended up providing a fertile ground for communalism. They have not taken the action that has been needed, and while they are by and large secular, these other parties are also, when it suits their convenience, communal. But I want to address certain points that Mr. Nigam made, because firstly, he misquoted me and another panelist by claiming that people who speak on the social media are terrorists. No, but people who lynch people are people who commit murder to create terror in the hearts of members of various communities are terrorists. And third, a very intelligent,
And Yaqub Memon was not a
clever
terrorist.
misquote of Naseeruddin Shah was also made by
Yaqub
Mr.
Memon
Nigam.
was not a terrorist.
Mr. Nigam-
Afzal Guru was not
I
a
will address
terrorist
that.
in your eyes.
I will address
All
that
right,
point
Anna.
you're making.
Okay, Raghu wants to just
Mr.
come in
Nigam,
here.
I will address
Anna,
that
we've been
point you're making.
I think we're talking about quotes and correcting one
Mr.
another. Yes,
Nigam,
Raghu, let
no,
Raghu
but
just
you
go ahead. I'll
haven't
come
allowed me
back to
to
you.
complete what I'm
Let
saying.
Raghu just
No,
make
but
his
Gargi,
point.
You've not allowed me to complete what I'm saying.
All right, quickly
No, but
complete
let
it.
me complete what I'm saying.
All right,
Let
quickly.
me complete what I'm saying. Firstly, the petition, any petition signed against capital punishment is by activists who are against capital punishment. But the point I was making was Naseeruddin Shah has not said in that video that he fears for himself as a Muslim. This is a lie that is being spread by the BJP
Yes,
and the
he
Sangh
fears for his
Parivar.
children.
I would request viewers to listen to the video. He is condemning mobocracy. He is not speaking of being afraid as a Muslim. While Muslims in this country are certainly afraid right now and have a right and reason to be afraid, Mr. Shah did not talk about
That's
that in
fear
the
mongering.
video that
That's
is being
fear
condemned by the
mongering.
BJP
That's
and
fear
some
mongering on national
fundamentalists
media.
right now.
This is
Right, well,
clearly
Raghu, yes,
fear-mongering
let
on
Raghu get a
national
chance. He
media.
wanted to make a point. Yes,
You know,
go
Gargi,
ahead.
I find that when people start throwing around words like terrorist, it's usually a way to block understanding rather than to increase understanding. And you can call anyone a terrorist, and of course there's Yaqub Memon was convicted and he did receive a death sentence from the court. But I think that anyone who wants to properly inform themselves about why someone might step up and ask for his death sentence to be commuted should actually do some research and understand the circumstances. It's very easy to say he was a terrorist, he should be hung, and he should be hanged, and anyone who contradicts that is therefore unreasonable. No, there is much nuance. There are many nuances.
And I think this nuance is what gets missed. Like Anna was pointing out, he did not talk about Naseeruddin Shah in that video, did not talk about fearing for himself or for Muslims. Do you think, were we always this outrage prone? Do you think it's social media that's fueling this, you know, that suddenly we have everybody and nobody's going beyond, like you're saying, going into the nuances or going beyond the headlines or the tweet or, you know, whatever quotes there are and figuring for themselves?
Well, I think the problem is that we always look for nuance in the areas that we sympathize with. For instance, Mr. Nigam has just found a great amount of nuance in the case of a policeman who's been killed while trying to suppress a riot. Now we have to wait to have it adjudicated whether it was a scuffle or whether maybe he just fell down and hit his head or something. The prima facie evidence, and police have made arrests already, is that he was shot.
Yes,
he was shot and killed,
and he had some injuries.
No joke, and certainly no
he
common
died of
cause
bullet
for
injury. That is the only thing you have.
That is the autopsy.
That autopsy, died of a bullet injury. How he died is a matter of investigation.
With the mob violence, sir, and then
anything further is a matter of investigation. I, as a lawyer, can tell you, only thing autopsy can say, died of bullet injury. Close range, it can say, but it cannot go beyond that.
Right, so like you're saying, it's being investigated.
Anybody who's doing so is in the realm of speculation.
All right, Amitabh, the point that Anna was making about the Congress not doing enough, or at some levels, letting the BJP or letting right wing get away with these sort of on these issues and these threats that they make.
I think look, it may not meet her standard or the standard of an individual, what they think a party should be doing. But I think there's no doubt that if you're talking about the Congress, it stands as a bulwark against the BJP. So I think perhaps what she's referring to is the allegation of soft Hindutva that springs from the various temple visits of the Congress president. And I think that view misses an important point, is that reaching out to a certain group, whether it's Hindus, whether it's Muslims, it could be people from any background, that is not communal, that is not Hindutva. It is the demonization of minorities that is Hindutva.
I think she's talking more about taking on these issues very strongly. Anna, what about what Anupam Kher had to say about Naseeruddin Shah's comments and saying that we have too much freedom and you can criticize, badmouth the air chief, abuse the army and pelt stones on soldiers. This sort of false equivalence that Anupam Kher seems to be making when talking about Naseeruddin Shah.
Well, firstly, Amitabh, I wasn't referring to Rahul Gandhi's temple visits. I have absolutely no problem with Rahul Gandhi visiting all the temples in the country. So I am talking about what Gargi explained to you, which is that the Congress itself, while claiming to be a secular party, has had a very high level of tolerance for communalism, and there are members of the party that have indulged in acts that are completely inexcusable, and they provided a fertile ground for the BJP to grow and excuses for the BJP to justify their own extremist actions. And Gargi, you know what, Anupam Kher, I think it's very sad because Mr. Kher again is a very respected actor, but Anupam Kher claiming that Naseeruddin Shah has no right to feel unsafe in this country and for mocking Mr. Shah's concerns is like, I don't know, it's like a man mocking a woman's concerns about misogyny and sexism. Mr. Kher belongs to the dominant community. The most decent thing, which is why, thank God, India is a secular country, because the liberal Hindu, as does any liberal member of a majority country in any secular country in the world, is concerned with ensuring that all minority communities feel safe and are never made to feel like outsiders. So I think that Mr. Kher has been one of the biggest disappointments of the Hindi film industry, but the only difference between him and others is that he's at least open about his support for religious
Mr. Nigam wanted to reply to that. Yes.
Others are
so
positive.
Quickly, now we're really in the last leg of the show.
See, why I feel Mr. Kher gets agitated, he belongs to a community of Kashmiri Pandits who were thrown out, and when he sees no agitation, no anger from anybody, he's bound to say things, you know.
Right,
The
so but
selective,
this
so
is
selective
another issue
outrage.
he's talking.
So selective outrage is something, you know, and especially there are events far dangerous, far more devastating. Nobody feels the fear.
All
That
right,
is what
Raghu,
I'm trying
all right,
to
so the final
establish
word,
the hypocrisy and paranoia
you know what,
and fear
Anna
mongering
has
which is being
said
done
a lot
by
on
people
this
out
entire
here.
issue, and the fact that you know, majority community, that, you know, for us to understand what Mr. Naseeruddin Shah is talking about, I mean, that's something totally maybe some beyond, which is why people are criticizing him.
You know, I think when we look back on history, when we see people giving warnings about a tendency of state to encourage violence, the people who we remember in history doing that are people we generally admire and respect, and they often turn out to be right. It's not worth taking the risk of not listening to those people. It's just always worth listening to them, and not making excuses for silencing them.
All right, well, I'm completely out of time. Thank you all for joining us on this debate tonight, and thank you all for watching. Good night.